Section 210.52 at 1 of the National Electrical Code, also known as the NEC, addresses receptacle requirements for wall spaces. It states that at least one receptacle outlet must be installed for each wall space that is 2 feet or more in width. This measurement is taken along the floor line in every habitable room and bathroom. Let's consider the case of a freestanding column in a room. If one side of the column measures 12 inches, which is equivalent to 1 foot, this is less than the 2-foot requirement specified in the code. Therefore, according to section 210.52 at 1, a receptacle is not required in the column. The rationale behind the receptacle requirement in wall spaces is to ensure accessible electrical outlets for cords and plugs. The code aims to provide practical and safe electrical installations. While a freestanding column may be large, it may not provide a suitable surface for convenient cord and plug access in the same way a wall does. The NEC doesn't specifically define freestanding columns as wall space. It is important to understand the general intent of the code, which is to ensure practical and safe electrical installations. Some jurisdictions may have local amendments to the NEC that require receptacles on columns regardless of their size. It's important to be aware of these local variations. If there's a specific reason to install a receptacle on the column, even if it's not required by the code, it can be installed as an exception. Always consult with the local building official to determine if there are any additional requirements or amendments to the NEC in the specific jurisdiction. The code aims to ensure there is access to electrical power within reach for cords and plugs. Section 210.52 addresses the placement of receptacle outlets in dwelling units. Subsections cover general provisions, wall space requirements, countertop spaces, and specific locations. When determining receptacle placement, you need to consider the linear wall space available. A wall space is any space 2 feet or more in width that is not broken by a doorway, fireplace, or similar opening. The intent is to ensure that no point along the wall line is more than 6 feet from a receptacle outlet. This provides convenient access to power for lamps and appliances. Countertop receptacle placement is also important. In kitchens and dining areas, receptacle outlets must be installed to each countertop space that is 12 inches or wider. This ensures that countertop appliances can be easily plugged in without the use of extension cords. Island and peninsula countertops require at least one receptacle outlet. Islands need at least one receptacle outlet, and peninsula countertops require a receptacle outlet if the long dimension is 24 inches or greater and the short dimension is 12 inches or greater. Specific locations such as bathrooms, basements, and outdoor areas have their own receptacle requirements. Bathrooms require at least one receptacle outlet near each sink. Basements require at least one receptacle outlet, and outdoor areas require ground fault circuit interrupter, also known as GFCI, protected receptacles. The goal is to provide electrical safety and convenience in these areas. Understanding and following these NEC guidelines ensures safe and functional electrical installations in residential settings. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local amendments for specific requirements in the area. For example, consider a living room with a 15-foot wall and a 10-foot wall. The 15-foot wall requires at least 2 receptacle outlets, and the 10-foot wall requires at least 1 receptacle outlet. This ensures that no point along either wall is more than 6 feet from a receptacle. In a kitchen with a 30-inch countertop section and a 48-inch countertop section, each section requires at least 1 receptacle outlet. This provides convenient access to power for countertop appliances. In a bathroom with 2 sinks, each sink requires at least 1 receptacle outlet. These receptacle outlets must be GFCI protected to prevent electrical shock hazards. In a basement, at least 1 receptacle outlet is required for general use. This receptacle outlet should also be GFCI protected if it is located in an unfinished portion of the basement. Outside, any receptacle outlets that are accessible from ground level must be GFCI protected. This includes receptacle outlets on decks, patios, and porches. These are just a few examples of how the NEC guidelines for receptacle placement apply in different areas of a dwelling unit. By following these guidelines, electricians and homeowners can ensure safe and convenient electrical installations. The NEC is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and safety standards. It is important to use the latest edition of the NEC and to consult local amendments for specific requirements. Local amendments may be more restrictive than the NEC, so it is important to be aware of them. The electrician should also receive ongoing training to stay up to date on the latest code requirements and best practices. This ensures that they are able to provide safe and reliable electrical services to their customers. Homeowners can also benefit from learning about basic electrical safety and code requirements. This can help them to identify potential hazards and to make informed decisions about electrical work in their homes. There are many resources available online and in print that can provide homeowners with this information. Understanding the NEC guidelines for receptacle placement is essential for ensuring safe and functional electrical installations in dwelling units. By following these guidelines and staying up to date on the latest code requirements, electricians and homeowners can help to prevent electrical fires and shocks. Let's delve deeper into the specific aspects of Section 210.52 and its implications for electrical installations. This section is primarily concerned with ensuring that adequate receptacle outlets are provided in habitable rooms of dwelling units. Habitable rooms generally include living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, dining rooms, and family rooms. The goal is to provide convenient access to electrical power for the occupants of these rooms. As we have already established, the fundamental rule of Section 210.52a is that receptacle outlets must be installed so that no point along the wall line is more than 6 feet, measured horizontally, from a receptacle outlet. This means that a receptacle outlet must be placed at least every 12 feet along each wall. The wall line is defined as the intersection of the wall and the floor. It is important to note that the 6-foot rule applies to each wall space of 2 feet or more in width. A wall space is defined as a section of wall that is unbroken by doorways, fireplaces, or other similar openings. If a wall is less than 2 feet in width, it is not considered a wall space, and a receptacle outlet is not required. However, if there are multiple wall spaces in a room, each wall space must meet the 6-foot rule. For example, consider a living room with 3 wall spaces that are 4 feet, 6 feet, and 8 feet in width, respectively. The 4-foot wall space would require 1 receptacle outlet, the 6-foot wall space would require 1 receptacle outlet, and the 8-foot wall space would require 1 receptacle outlet. This ensures that each wall space has adequate access to electrical power. Section 210.52 Actual provides additional requirements for receptacle outlet placement in specific locations, such as behind doors and near fireplaces. Receptacle outlets are not required behind doors that swing open against the wall. This is because the door would block access to the receptacle outlet. However, if the door does not swing open against the wall, a receptacle outlet may be required behind the door. Receptacle outlets are also not required within 12 inches of a fireplace. This is to prevent cords from being draped across the fireplace, which could create a fire hazard. However, receptacle outlets may be required on either side of the fireplace, depending on the length of the wall. Section 210.52 addresses receptacle outlet placement in kitchens and dining areas. In these areas, receptacle outlets must be installed at each countertop space that is 12 inches or wider. This ensures that countertop appliances can be easily plugged in without the use of extension cords. The receptacle outlets must be located no more than 20 inches above the countertop. This makes them easily accessible for countertop appliances. Section 210.52 provides requirements for receptacle outlet placement on island and peninsula countertops. Island countertops must have at least 1 receptacle outlet. Peninsula countertops must have at least 1 receptacle outlet if the long dimension is 24 inches or greater and the short dimension is 12 inches or greater. This ensures that these countertop spaces have adequate access to electrical power. The receptacle outlets must be located no more than 12 inches below the countertop. This makes them easily accessible for countertop appliances. Section 210.52b addresses receptacle outlet placement in bathrooms. Bathrooms must have at least one receptacle outlet near each sink. The receptacle outlets must be located on a wall or partition that is adjacent to the sink. The receptacle outlets must be GFCI protected to prevent electrical shock hazards. Section 210.52c addresses receptacle outlet placement in basements. Basements must have at least one receptacle outlet. The receptacle outlet should be located in an accessible location. The receptacle outlet should also be GFCI protected if it is located in an unfinished portion of the basement. Section 210.52d addresses receptacle outlet placement in outdoor areas. Outdoor areas must have GFCI protected receptacle outlets that are accessible from ground level. This includes receptacle outlets on decks, patios, and porches. The receptacle outlets must be weatherproof to protect them from the elements. These are just some of the specific requirements for receptacle outlet placement in dwelling units. By following these requirements, electricians and homeowners can ensure safe and functional electrical installations. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local amendments for specific requirements in specific location. Staying updated ensures compliance and safety in electrical work. The NEC guidelines for receptacle placement are based on years of experience and research. They are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. By following these guidelines, electricians and homeowners can help to prevent electrical fires and shocks. It is important to remember that the NEC is a minimum standard. Local jurisdictions may have more stringent requirements. It is always best to check with the local building official to determine the specific requirements in area. Electricity is a powerful force that can be dangerous if not handled properly. It is important to take precautions when working with electricity. Always turn off the power before working on any electrical equipment. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate protective gear. If unsure about any electrical work, it is best to consult with a qualified electrician. They have the knowledge and experience to perform electrical work safely and correctly. Following the NEC guidelines for receptacle placement is just one way to ensure electrical safety. There are many other electrical safety practices that should be followed. By being aware of these practices and following them diligently can help to protect families from electrical hazards. In summary, Section 210.52 of the NEC provides comprehensive guidelines for receptacle outlet placement in dwelling units. By following these guidelines, electricians and homeowners can ensure safe and functional electrical installations. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local amendments for specific requirements. Electricity should always be handled with care and respect. Following electrical safety practices and consulting with qualified professionals when needed are vital for maintaining a safe living environment.